The purpose of today's class is to try and replicate the report that we are looking at on the screen here. So if you remember from our previous class on bulk insert, we had consumed this data, which is a breakdown of social media hours consumed by age group and a whole lot of other statistics in here. So, but the requirement today is to try to sum up the social media hours consumed by age group. And in this spreadsheet, we have gone ahead and used the SUMIF function to achieve this. So briefly, before we go on, let's have a look at how the SUMIF function works. So in Excel, the SUMIF function is used to aggregate a group of values in a range of cells based on a condition. So it will have these three arguments. The first one is the range, which is required. It is compulsory, you have to supply a range. So this range can contain the numbers you want to sum up. The criteria is a condition upon which Excel is going to pick the values in that range and add to the aggregation or the summation. Now the last optional parameter, the last one is an optional parameter called SUMRange. So you can as well also specify a different range of cells to be where you have the values to be aggregated. So there are two places you can specify the values to be aggregated. You can leave them in the range, or you can also have a separate pointer to a group of cells that contain the values to be summed up. So in our case, if we go back to the spreadsheet, we have specified all three parameters. We have defined a range to be column D from D2 to D3000, and we have specified the sum range as well, E2 to E3000, which will be the actual social media hours to be aggregated. Now we have done something special for the criteria. If you look, it is also a cell reference. So if you see here where we are using that, we have lined up all of the age groups here. So before this lesson, I had gone through the age group and picked out all of the age groups that we have. So we have these 6 age groups. So if you see in the function, instead of writing out each age group, we have told the function to reference it from the top here. So if you double click this, you will see we are referencing the whole of column D for the age groups, the whole of column E as the sum range, and then we are picking up our criteria from the top here as we are going to the right. And that's it. The whole of what we are required to do today is to try and replicate this same functionality in T-SQL. We are going to be using the case statement in T-SQL to achieve this. Just before we go there, let's do a brief recap as well. I have in the notes here something on the T-SQL case statement. Remember, this note is going to be linked in the description section, and the whole of what we are looking at on the screen here is on the Microsoft documentation on the SUMIF and the case statement as well. So the case statement in T-SQL allows you to evaluate a list of conditions, much in the same way the SUMIF function does. So as it is going through your data, it is trying to look at what data meets the condition you have specified, and then it's going to perform an action. So briefly, the format, one of the formats for the case statement is this. You start by saying case when a Boolean expression. This will be the equivalent of your criteria in the SUMIF function. This is where you say, is it age group 60 plus? If it is, then do something here. The else part is what will be done if this first part is not true. So, and it is optional. You don't have to specify that. The case statement is very much like the if statement. Take, for example, you could say if 1 is equal to 2, then do that. It is the same thing. case when 1 is equal to 2, then do something. You don't have to tell it what it will do otherwise. So that's it. Let's go and see it in action. If we go to our T-SQL environment, remember, like we said in a previous class on the bulk insert, which you can find on the channel, we have consumed the data from the spreadsheet. We had 2,800 records. Let's just be sure we still have that. So we have 2,800 records still. And then let's have a brief look at the data just to be sure everything looks okay. We still have our data. So to go slowly, we have tried to first replicate 1, and then we'll go across to the right. So what we have done in T-SQL here is, for reference, I have brought in a copy of the function or command we have used in Excel, and then I've tried to use the SUMIF to try to replicate that. Now in T-SQL, you have this function called sum, which can be used to aggregate values in a cell. Usually the simplest form of the use is a select sum, a column name from a table name, and then it will do that. But in our case today, we want to add inside the sum itself a case statement. So just to demonstrate, usually the simplest form of this will be select sum. Let's say we want to sum up the social media hours. So we would say select some social media hours from our table. Let's just take the table name. And if we run this will be the simplest way of using the sum function. You see, it gets you a summation of all of the values in the social media column. But today, we want to give it a condition based upon which it is going to sum. So if we have another look at the data, what exactly are we trying to achieve? What we are trying to achieve is this. We are telling the system, within this, we're talking about this now. So as you are summing, have a look at the age group column, this. If the value in there equals 13 to 18, then add into my aggregation the value in the corresponding social media hours column. So the system will be going row by row. It will have a look at this column, the value in here, and if it meets the condition, it is going to take the corresponding value to the right and add it to our aggregation. So let's run this to see if it works. It works, 942.20. Does that match what we have? Yes, 942.20. So now that we are sure it is working, we can go ahead and do it for the rest of the age groups. So let's go check what we've done. If you look down here, I have done a list of the same command for all of the age groups. The difference is just that instead of naming the column this way, I have used the actual age group as the column names. And why do we have the square brackets? When you have column names that have spaces or special characters, it is good to enclose them in square brackets so that T-SQL doesn't start to evaluate them. In this case, 13-18 looks like 13 minus 18. So the square bracket prevents T-SQL from trying to evaluate that as a mathematical expression, or even this one, 60 plus. So if we run this, let's see if it matches what we have in Excel. Looks like it matches. Let's just check a couple of them. 60 plus is 1001.70. Let's go check. 1001.70. Let's check 26 to 35. 1054.70. Let's go back there. 1054.70. And that's it. The notes will be linked in the description section. Please have a look at other lessons on the channel. Thanks for watching.